You're a hiker stranded on a trail. There's 3 people with you. One is your parent, one doesn't speak the same language as you, and as for the last person, it's their first time hiking. You're running out of water and GPS is not working. Despite all of these barriers, you all have the same goal, which is to survive. Have you ever talked to a person who doesn't speak the same language as you? You start speaking with your whole body and you both try to communicate through sign language that would probably freak a deaf person out. Well, what if you could kind of speak the same language, but you have a different cultural background? Just to give you an example, coming from a somewhat reserved culture, physical contact is really limited in social situations. I met my friend's parents one time, and she happened to be French. She kissed me on the cheek as a greeting, and I freaked out, thinking to myself, oh my God, was that my first kiss? What about your family? I'm sure many of us feel like a teenager again after spending a couple days with our parents. Family communication is difficult. There's a lifetime of history behind your relationship, which can make things harder than it already is. Sometimes, as a result of this, we fall back into our old behavior patterns we might not be proud of. Combine all of those elements, and I welcome you to my everyday life. My dad, who I love so dearly, is older than my grandfather. You heard that right. I was born when he was 51 years old. To make matters even more severe, we don't share the same mother tongue. His main language is Cantonese, while mine is English, obviously, but we could only speak to each other in Thai. Growing up, communication was a huge challenge. Not only our generational differences, but the language we spoke also differed. Family communication combined with generational, cultural, and language differences require compassion, empathy, patience, and understanding. A lot of us might assume that communicating with those that are closest to us would be the easiest thing, right? That they should know who we are the best, that they should understand us effortlessly. Research by Dr. Boaz Kaiser from the University of Chicago actually found that communicating with those closest to us might actually be more difficult than communicating with those we don't know that well. There's many reasons to this. One of the main reasons is we assume people that are close to us automatically know what we know. How many times have you told your closest loved ones, I told you about this last week, how can you forget? Do you even listen to me? I'm sure many of us has gone through that. Because we spend so much time with them, we forget that we assume that more than half of our message has already been communicated. This creates a huge opportunity for us to be misunderstood and is the main reason why family communication can be so difficult. There's literally a lifetime of history behind your relationship. Every single success, mistake, failure, bad habits are wrapped around each exchange you have. The first step of improving family communication is understanding and acknowledging how fragile family communication can really be. When you're feeling like you're regressing back to your angsty teenage self again, be reminded that that is a defense mechanism, and remind yourself that that is not who you are. Communicate that to your loved ones. I believe many of us, when we're seeking advice on how to communicate across different generations, assume that age is the only factor involved. This is a huge misinterpretation and a huge generalization. Correlation does not imply causation. Age does not define a person's mindset. In your life experiences, your upbringing, your culture has so much more to contribute to who you are than how long you've lived. In many ways, my dad is much, much more progressive than I am. I refused to cut my hair short for the longest time, and I told him I'm scared I wouldn't feel pretty. He looked at me, took a deep breath and sighed, and told me, Jameena, the length of hair on your head does not define your femininity. Or that other time he also told me I should add more color to my wardrobe. People have a unique perspective on life, no matter when you were born. I believe this is something crucial we have to address when we discuss cross-generational communication. It is not about your age, but it is about who you are as a person. It's not about the person's age, but the time period and therefore the environment they were brought up in. The environment which was crucial in influencing and determining their character, not their age. Culture is an important part of communication. Language can shape the way we think or even go about things. There are many instances where my dad and I would be in a heated debate, and only to realize after 10 minutes or so that we were actually agreeing with each other. Those arguments made me realize that we were always on each other's side. When you're communicating with someone from a different cultural background, even when you're communicating your message clearly, your tone of voice might not be communicated. This is why direct translation doesn't always work. A native speaker in any language will immediately see and understand if a text has been translated by a person or a machine. We get so caught up in our own message, we forget that the other person has something to say too. With a language barrier, you're as frustrated as the other person. Effective cross-generational and cross-cultural communication requires compassion, empathy, and understanding for others, and most importantly, to yourself. With a language barrier there, it can be so frustrating trying to communicate. An exchange that would have taken 5 minutes could easily become a 30-minute explanation. Trust me. The first step of improving cross-cultural and cross-generational communication is understanding each other, and remember to not take things too personally or too seriously. There's a saying that I absolutely love that I believe captures this moment quite well. If you try to win the battle, you might end up losing the war. Sometimes when we're so firm about our message, we get too consumed by it. We forget that the other person might not understand, or that it might not be clear for them. When it comes to family with an added language barrier, there's no such thing as winning in an argument. Because in order to win, the other person must lose. The best way to win an argument is not to have one at all. The best way to win communication is not to win an argument, but it is for a message to be clearly understood by both sides. Practicing compassion, empathy, active listening, and accepting the imperfections that might come along the way is the first step to truly hearing and communicating. The key to cross-generational and cross-cultural communication is empathy and compassion for yourself and for others. Compassion and empathy are the steps you take in order to meet each other in the middle. Just like the hikers in the beginning, having the same goal to survive. Despite all of these barriers, we all have the same goal, which is to be heard. Thank you.